live. So tweeting out the announcement that we are going so anyone can join us. See that we've got some people joining online via Twitter already, so looks like we're good to go. Welcome everybody to the weekly stand-up for HTBox, for the Humanitarian Toolbox's AllReady project. We say weekly, but that term might mean something different to different people. For us, it means that when there's a Saturday where a group of us can meet, then we'll try to meet at approximately the same time and place, which is here on the interwebs. On the call today, we've got a number of folks. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties getting everybody connected, but we'll try and do a little bit of a roundtable. The AllReady project is a project that's built on ASP.NET Core. It serves the goal of allowing volunteers and coordinators to more quickly assemble and disseminate information about activities and tasks that need to be accomplished in order to achieve some kind of result in a volunteer organization. So it's a great initiative by the Humanitarian Toolbox. It's something that everyone on the call has had a chance to provide a little bit of code to, and there's some great events coming up in the next month or so, so we want to make sure that we're getting that information out as much as possible. We can just do a little bit of a roundtable and talk a little bit about what's going on. Brian, do we have your audio yet? Still not hearing from Brian? Okay, that's okay. We'll start with Mike then, if you wanted to let us know what you've been up to or what you've been seeing going on the project.
I haven't been up to much lately in terms of commits, although I've been watching all of the new pull requests from new folks come in, and that's great to see.
Exciting, yeah.
I've also been spending a little bit of time just helping new folks get started as far as what issues they should be working on, and kind of the general protocol of how to ask questions on GitHub and doing the right thing with pull requests and things like that. So that's pretty much it now.
One of our team members on this project, Dave Paquette, he actually has put together a killer post on submitting your first pull request. So maybe what we can do is we'll tweet that out and we'll get HTBox to share that as well, and that way they can, anybody who's wanting to get involved or whatever, they can kind of go through the same process that most of us went through the first time we were doing a pull request. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and we can also link out to that from the, htbox.github.io, that sort of getting started guide that Bill put together.
Right, for sure. That's excellent, yeah. Awesome. Okay, Brian, I see we've got you on the call now. What's been keeping you busy in regards to this project over the last couple of weeks or so?
I've been more of a lurker, just seeing what's going on, hoping to be involved in the Minnesota thing, but I'm not going to be on site.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, we do have two big announcements for that. Super excited to. We have a worldwide event coming up on February 20th. The links are out there already, so check out the HTBox account on Twitter. It's just @HTBox. We have two great events coming up. One of them is going to be put on by Magenic with Rocky Ladka in MSP, and then the other one's going to be by Simon Timms in Canada, up in Calgary. And registration is open for both of those, so make sure you track those down. It's an excellent opportunity to work with, top flight developers that have been plugged into this project. It's a chance to work with ASP.NET Core, and more importantly, I think it's just an opportunity to help organizations like the American Red Cross and others. This is open source software, freely available, and organizations can benefit from this. Jim, we've got you on the call. I know that you've got some projects we're partway into executing some of the work in the beta, this test site that we've got. Why don't you give us a little bit of background from your side what the next weeks and months ahead are going to look like for your organization in Chicago.
Okay. So obviously, this is the busy season for us in terms of disaster response. So both Sarah Miller and I have been focused a lot on kind of our day jobs, but we're also trying to write scenarios, user stories, and I've realized I'm not very good at it. The best way I can explain it is that I have trouble seeing the trees for the forest. So I'm very kind of big picture, and so kind of breaking stuff down has been a little bit difficult, but we're getting better. What we're looking at is we have an event on April 16th that just was confirmed, and so our hope is that we can actually put this application to use for that event in some capacity, and so we'll kind of focus our feedback to all of you on what we need to do to get there, so that we can actually put this thing in front of our volunteers and help it actually run an event. The other thing for us, and I'll talk to Tony a little bit more about this, is that there's a lot of work that we do that's just day-to-day stuff. It's not so much focused on big events, and so we'll be. Some of the user stories and some of the items that we're going to start throwing in your direction are more along the lines of how do we give a project to, say, 2 or 3 people that they can go and do for a day, kind of like an itinerary, and say here are the 8 things that you're going to do, and you do them in this succession. So we're going to start putting some user stories out that focus on how do you create those kind of itinerary-based projects that may be a little bit smaller, but that can be done every day.
It's not that full-blown social media marketed kind of organized event with dozens or hundreds of volunteers. It's more something that's localized and very specific to a single day.
To a single day, but it's something that's repetitive.
Or a short time, yeah. Gotcha, okay.
Very repetitive. It's the kind of thing that we're going to be doing, say, 4 or 5 days a week, and it's the same type of project. Maybe you need to go out and install smoke alarms in 10 homes, but it's something that we can provide on a regular basis, and people can start signing up for those tasks. So another kind of component for how we can use the application. So those are the 2 things that we're really trying to focus on. Again, giving you guys some good content to chew on and figure out how to kind of make that stuff work.
Sure, and I guess when we kind of abstract that away to other organizations, there's other things that all kinds of places that could really benefit from that. If you think about, for example, the turnover rate, there's a really high turnover rate in a lot of volunteer positions, and that's just a reality because we get a period of time in our lives where we can donate some time to a cause, and we go down, we want to be as effective as possible. If you consider like a food bank, there's, when you're putting a hamper together, there's elements of that hamper that need to go together, and having that list of tasks readily available so somebody can come in and with very minimal training be effective and be able to contribute, that's really important.
Right. So 2 other things I want to mention, because my hope is, and I've never seen this application as a Red Cross application. That's never been kind of what we wanted this to be. So a couple things that I've heard just this last week actually would be some colleagues of mine went to a volunteer management conference, and every agency there, except for some of the big ones who had resources to purchase applications like Logistics and some of the other things, don't have volunteer management tools. And so I think when we get this to a point where we feel confident starting to kind of socialize it around some of these organizations, I think you're going to have a lot of people who are really interested just in having a way to organize volunteers simply. So, and a good example that relates to the kind of the task-based projects that we were talking about before is we have a group here called the Center for Neighborhood Technology that goes out and does assessments of homes, make sure that they're ready, for flooding and some of these other issues. And so they're starting to look at this as an application that they could possibly deploy as well to take care of some of the stuff that they're doing programmatically. So we want to make sure that we're sharing this now and kind of where we're headed, so that people can get excited about it, start to jump on board with us.
Excellent. Brian, you had some comments that you wanted to add as well?
Yep.
Yeah, just I got an idea based on what you just said. Is if some of these activities under a campaign would be like a repetitive thing, and you want to be able to, a use case would be to either copy an activity or campaign or make it repetitive.
Right. Well, I'll give you an example of so we have a web portal called getasmokealarm.org where anybody can go and request a smoke alarm installation. How do you take a bunch of requests, bundle them in a way that you can then hand it off to somebody and they can go out and complete that work? So it is the same. It's repetitive, but the content is going to change for every event. It's going to be same different addresses. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah, it does. And that one actually is really interesting too because it, from a project perspective, so that's a point where somebody with experience in geospatial queries would be able to help out because that assignment might be to go and install 2 or 3 smoke alarms in on a Saturday afternoon or something like that. And being able to group those together by a region would be important in that case because you don't want to send someone to 3 completely different parts of town, whereas somebody's, like where you could have done 3 in the same location or in the same neighborhood or the subdivision or whatever. So
yeah, and I realize this is somewhat ambitious in the sense where even the cable companies struggle with this, so it's not always an easy task to make sure to get all these appointments. Plus, you've also got the component of making sure that people are home, confirming appointments, things like that. As we get a little farther down the road, can you incorporate SMS into this in a way that you're being able to message back and forth with people to say, just confirming you're going to be home from 10 to whatever. So there's a lot of places this can go. But again, going back to your food pantry analogy, is that if you're delivering boxes of food. Same thing. You're trying to deliver a service in a way that is as efficient as possible.
absolutely. Okay, I know we've got some work that's going to be queued up. Mike, if you wouldn't mind just getting ready to share some of those tasks. Tony's been working on helping out to get to arrange our next milestone and get some tasks in place so that people can start taking part. So we're going to come back, and I'm hoping I can get you to share your screen. We've got a couple other people on the call we'll get to really quickly here. Scott, do you have anything you wanted to add to this week's stand-up stuff you've been working on or questions that you've got?
No, I've just been kind of lurking and watching, the issues go by. I had a machine set up at the MVP Summit at the end of November, and something broke. I can't get the app to work again, so I'm back to trying to figure out what's wrong and getting it to work.
Okay. Cool. Well, keep in mind if we've got a whole bunch of channels for help and everything. So if you've got questions, just ping anyone who's already actively on the project, and we should be able to get you rolling with that. It is RC software, right? So there's still lots of things that change as we go.
And I'm
Great.
changing things on my own independent, and I think that's why I haven't been reaching out for help, because I'm trying to figure out what I broke before I go out and ask for help on something.
Gotcha. Where are you located? Are you close to Minneapolis or?
No, I'm in Utah.
Oh, you're in Utah. Okay. No, I was just wondering what parts of the states you're situated in, just because we do have that event coming up on the 20th. So I'm actually going to be flying out to Calgary myself to join the troop out there. So excited to go and meet. So there's already about a dozen developers, I think, signed up for that. So we're pretty excited with that event. We also have Pascal on the line. Pascal, did you have anything you wanted to add this week?
No, I'm good. I'm going to start going back to the app and do some testing and UI stuff, just, kind of catching up on that and seeing if there's anything on the front end or anything makes sense. But
sure.
And then I'm looking at probably for the 20th, focusing on just documentation.
Excellent. I see, Jim, you had a question about the details for the February 20th events. We've had a couple of tweets go out for both events. Again, the one for Rock in Minneapolis is going to be hosted by Rocky Laka's troop there at Magenic. And then the Calgary .NET user group leader, Simon Timms, who came very, very late into the Codeathon in Seattle, but has done a couple of commits and helped get some things righted as far as TypeScript goes and stuff like that. He's actually running the event out in Calgary on the 20th as well. So it will be an international event. Even though it's just like Canada, United States, we'll call it international anyways, and it'll be great. And yeah, Pascal, getting it in testing is going to be awesome. There's been some great pull requests and different features that have been touched up, and lots of fixes and everything. So that's been really exciting to see as we've got new hands on. Lots of input coming, and literally, I mean, I kind of joke about being an international event, but it's definitely an international project. We have people from all over the globe contributing. Mike, would you mind pulling up your screen there and sharing the GitHub repo, and we'll just have we'll just kind of go through some of the stuff that's been added, and we'll talk about that quickly. Tony was in there grooming the backlog a little bit and adding a bunch of events. So.
Yep, here we go. So, all right, can you see the GitHub repo?
Not quite yet.
Got it?
Yeah, I got it.
So, okay. So,
if everybody else can mute, that'll make sure that Michael stays in focus for everybody else who's on the call.
All right. For anyone else who isn't familiar with how we organize issues, we're organizing them into milestones right now, as we have for a while. You can sort of take a look back at some of the closed milestones to see what some of those have looked like. I guess historically, our issues have the issues that we throw into milestones have been pretty targeted, and the current milestone, this private preview release 1, that's still the case. These are largely targeted type issues, and I guess most of the issues are really enhancements as opposed to bugs. Some of them are assigned out. If you're not already familiar with how we classify issues, we prioritize them by putting these P1, P2, or P3 tags on them. Judging by, you can probably tell by the color that P1 is the most important, and P3 should be done after P1 and P2.
I guess the exception would be is if you're less familiar with the project and you see something in the P3 category and you want to join, then by all means go ahead and do that. But we're hoping that you do that with the intent that as you do more commits and add more to the project, you'll be able to focus on the P1s.
Right, and we try to clarify issues that would be a good fit for that by this jump in tag. So what Tony Surma has done just recently is he started this private preview release 2 with issues in here which are kind of scenario based, and they're mentioned in the issues, but the idea behind these is that usually one person would not pull off one of these scenarios, go into a cave, work on it, and then come in with a PR that has 10,000 modifications. We're going to want to split these out into multiple smaller tasks. All right.
Very cool. Okay, so what in terms of things that are coming up, does anybody have any questions from a technical perspective that are kind of outstanding on the project or direction that they're looking for at this point? Not at the moment. We're good? Okay, excellent. And there was one thing that I wanted to get talking about, and I'll throw it out there right now, and if you guys have any ideas on it. We're using SendGrid integration. A couple of the pull requests in the last couple of weeks have actually they've involved sending email out, and people are constructing email bodies. They're building up, HTML, and they're building up the body of the email, and it's becoming like blocks of code inside the application. SendGrid actually has the ability to use a template, and you send it a block of JSON with all the fields, and then it does like a mail merge for you, and it sends it in. Has anybody worked with SendGrid in a way that would allow us to, share or work on those templates? Like the only thing that I see that would be possible would be that if we add everybody who wants to work on email as an administrator in the SendGrid service, and that doesn't really seem like a really logical way to kind of move it. I don't know, does anybody have any experience there? Mike, have you worked with that before?
I haven't, but I guess I would be surprised that if SendGrid does not have an API for defining new templates.
So maybe we can look at an approach where rather than building up a block of HTML and text inside of a method, we actually have like a separate app or something that is just used by someone like a Bill or a Tony to actually review that template and then push it out via an API. So it becomes part of the build process and it's versioned and things like that.
Yeah, and there's also nothing that says we can't use our own templating engine that is apart from SendGrid. You know, I think there would be value in having the templates be part of our source code instead of having them be SendGrid configuration. I could see those. You know, we would end up having problems either losing track of what a template used to look like, templates that get deleted accidentally, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I wonder even if it's worth talking with the SendGrid folks to see if they've got other ideas on how other teams do it, because as you said, having those templates and source control is what's important. And if they had a way to expose a GitHub repository, and that repository were your templates, and you could sign into SendGrid, and if you had credentials on the repository, then you'd be able to access those templates and edit them, then that would solve the problem as well. So there's probably a number of ways that we can approach that. Maybe we'll reach out to SendGrid in the next couple of weeks here and figure out if there's something that can help out that way.
Yeah, if we can do like an automatic deploy sort of thing, kind of like how you can deploy Azure websites from Git and like GitHub and Bitbucket.
Exactly. Okay, excellent. Group, thanks everyone for coming together to chat about the project this week. We've got another one coming up next week. We'll tweet out the details as well. If anybody who's watching this or catching this here online after the fact, make sure you check out github.com/htbox. Follow the project on Twitter. You can find the Humanitarian Toolbox at htbox. And of course, you can check out the website at htbox.org. We will make sure this week that we get all of the details tweeted out and registration available for the events in Calgary and Minneapolis. And I think that probably does it for this week. Thanks to everyone for joining the call. And Jim, thanks for coming in to represent American Red Cross there, and Pascal for all your support here this week and getting our videos back online. Okay, cheers everyone.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.